Imagine waking up every day, working for decades, paying taxes, and following every financial rule you were taught, only to realize, by the time you retire, that you were playing the wrong game entirely. It's not that you were lazy, it's that the rules were never explained. Because the truth is, the difference between the rich and everyone else isn't intelligence, luck, or even opportunity. It's something far quieter, a concept that determines who stays poor, who survives, and who becomes free. It's called financial literacy, and it might be the most valuable language no one ever taught you. In this episode, we'll explore what financial literacy really means, beyond the buzzwords and basic advice. We'll uncover how it shapes your relationship with money, why schools never taught it, and how it secretly determines the structure of our economy. We'll also break down the 4 pillars of financial literacy: earning, saving, investing, and protecting, and how you can use them to change not just your bank balance, but your trajectory. Chapter 1. The Great Illusion of Education. Let's start with a simple question. Why do schools teach algebra, but not how taxes or credit cards work? It's strange, isn't it? We spend over a decade learning to solve equations we'll never use, but not a single year understanding how to manage the one thing we'll depend on for the rest of our lives: money. This isn't an accident. Historically, the modern education system was designed during the Industrial Revolution, a time when the goal was to produce reliable workers, not independent thinkers. Children were trained to follow schedules, obey authority, and perform repetitive tasks efficiently. It was a system optimized for factories, not freedom. As author Robert Kiyosaki once said in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, "The education system trains people to be employees, not employers." Financial literacy was never part of the curriculum, because financially independent citizens are harder to control than financially dependent ones. Chapter 2. What financial literacy actually is. Financial literacy isn't about being good with numbers. It's about understanding how money flows through systems and how to direct that flow toward you instead of away from you. At its core, it's made up of 4 key pillars: earning, saving, investing, and protecting. These might sound simple, but together they form the foundation of financial freedom. Most people master 1 or 2, but very few master all 4. That's why even high-income earners can end up broke, while ordinary savers quietly become wealthy over time. Chapter 3. Pillar 1. Earning. The first pillar is earning, but not just through labor. Most people only know how to earn active income, money that stops coming in when they stop working. Financial literacy teaches you to create multiple streams of income: active and passive. Think of a freelancer who works 10 hours a day. If they stop, their income falls to 0. Now compare that to someone who owns digital assets: a book, a YouTube channel, a course, or investments that earn while they sleep. That's the first shift, from earning with time to earning with systems. According to data from Fidelity and CNBC, most millionaires have at least 3 income sources, not because they're geniuses, but because they've learned to multiply output, not effort. Chapter 4. Pillar 2. Saving, the misunderstood skill. The second pillar is saving, but not in the traditional sense of hoarding money in a bank account. Saving is about delayed gratification, the ability to control emotion before it controls you. When people say, "I can't save," what they often mean is, "I can't delay reward." Behavioral economists like Richard Thaler call this present bias, the tendency to value small, immediate rewards over larger, future ones. Financial literacy reframes saving as a form of buying time. Time for opportunity, time for freedom, time for peace of mind. That's why people who understand money see savings not as sacrifice, but as the seed of leverage. Chapter 5. Pillar 3. Investing. Here's where most people stop, and where the wealthy begin. Investing is the process of making your money work for you, instead of you working for it. But this idea intimidates people, partly because it's never been properly explained. At its essence, investing is about owning assets that grow faster than inflation. stocks, real estate, businesses, or even intellectual property. According to a 2023 J.P. Morgan study, investors who consistently stayed in the market for 20 years earned nearly 9% average annual returns, while those who tried to time it missed out on half that. The lesson is simple. The market rewards patience more than prediction. Financial literacy isn't about chasing quick profits. It's about understanding compound growth, the quiet, exponential force that Albert Einstein once called the eighth wonder of the world. Chapter 6, Pillar 4, Protecting. Finally, the last pillar, protection, is the one most people ignore until it's too late. This includes insurance, diversification, emergency funds, and cybersecurity. All the unseen shields that prevent disaster from wiping out decades of effort. One uninsured accident, one cyber theft, one bad financial decision can undo years of progress. Financial literacy ensures you build defense before offense. In the words of billionaire investor Charlie Munger, the first rule of compounding is to never interrupt it unnecessarily. Protecting your assets ensures the compounding never stops. Chapter 7. The Wealth Gap in Knowledge. Now, let's look at how this plays out on a global scale. According to a 2022 Standard & Poor's survey, only 33% of adults worldwide are financially literate. That means 2/3 of the planet has little idea how interest, inflation, or diversification actually work. Meanwhile, the top 1%, those who control over 40% of global wealth, have been using these concepts for generations. It's not just a wealth gap, it's a knowledge gap, and it compounds over time. When you understand the system, you can design your life around it. When you don't, you become part of someone else's design. Chapter 8. The Cost of Ignorance. The lack of financial literacy doesn't just affect individuals, it affects entire economies. When citizens don't understand credit, they borrow excessively. When they don't understand interest, they fall into debt traps. When they don't understand investing, they miss out on wealth creation, and the cycle of inequality deepens. In the United States, the average household carries over $17,000 in credit card debt. Globally, consumer debt has surpassed $55 trillion, according to Bloomberg. Yet most of this debt doesn't fund productivity or education. It funds consumption. Financial illiteracy keeps the engine of the economy running, but it keeps the average person in neutral. Chapter 9. The Digital Era. New opportunities. New traps. In the digital age, financial literacy is more important than ever. Technology has democratized investing, with apps, crypto, and digital assets making markets accessible to anyone with a smartphone. But accessibility without understanding is dangerous. Between 2020 and 2022, over 12 million new retail investors entered global markets, many driven by hype rather than knowledge. Some made fortunes, most lost savings. Financial literacy is what separates speculation from strategy. Knowing the difference between owning a share and chasing a trend is what determines whether you're participating in the market or being played by it. Chapter 10. Relearning Money. The solution isn't to fear money, it's to relearn it. Money isn't just paper or numbers on a screen. It's a language, a social agreement that translates time, trust, and value. When you become financially literate, you're not just learning how to budget. You're learning how to speak fluently in the language of opportunity. It's like discovering a code that was always running your life. But now, you finally understand the syntax. From that moment, every paycheck, every purchase, every investment becomes part of a story you control. At its core, financial literacy isn't about greed. It's about autonomy. It's the ability to make choices from a place of clarity, not fear. It's the quiet confidence that no matter what happens in the world, you understand the system well enough to adapt. Every society that expands financial education expands freedom. Because when people understand how money works, they're harder to manipulate, harder to exploit, and harder to control. And that's why it's rarely taught. But today, the tools are in your hands. Your access to information, this very moment, is something your grandparents could only dream of. What you do with it will define not just your future, but your family's for generations. Financial literacy is the great equalizer. It's not about how much you start with. It's about how much you understand. If this story gave you a clearer lens on how money really works, consider subscribing for more calm, in-depth stories about how money, power, and technology shape our world. Because the real economy isn't just outside, it's in the way you think. This is Cold Insight. Thanks for listening.